Welcome, or indeed welcome back to my channel, Paying the Ferryman 777. So, I am in Chiang Mai in Thailand. I've been sharing a little bit recently about this mission that God has sent me on. But I want to talk a little bit about why. Why am I here? Why do I deserve this honor? Why is it that I've been chosen to do this mission? And it does come down to deserving. There's tests, like initiations, that Spirit will put you through to see if you're ready, to see if you understand, to see if you really are aligned with the truth about how things are, about reality, about your purpose, etc. It can be a long process. I've been through many tests and initiations at this stage. I've failed some, but that's okay. I got to cycle around again and try again. The test that I was given to come here, in and of itself was a test. It was a leap of faith. It's like, you're going to Thailand. I'm like, okay, then I guess I'll go to Thailand. And yeah, very, very much a leap of faith. So it was testing my faith. But before I even got to that part, there was another test a few weeks ago. I had completed a ritual, a healing ritual. I had 4 other people there. It was a fantastic healing ritual. We called the energy of Christ, Metatron, and Archangel Michael to be present. And there was a lot of healing, a lot of revelations, a lot of information gained, teachings, and things like that. It was a success for me. It was a milestone for me on my path. I was guided to do this. Everything fell into place. It was really synchronized. The actions and the hand of Spirit, the hand of God, was very clear in the run up to this ritual, moving the pieces for everything to work out, choosing the right people to be there, and making sure it all went perfectly. And I completed this ritual, and after the ritual was done, I started to receive messages from Spirit. So I was very happy. First of all, Spirit said, "I'm really proud of you." So I got that nice validation, confirmation. And then I entered into a process. Spirit told me that I was to die for God, that I was to give my life for God if I chose, and that by giving my life, I would bring about immense amounts of healing and elevation in the world for other people. And I thought to myself, what an honor. I'll accept whatever it is that you want me to do. If it's going to help everybody, that would be great. So it was this like mini Christic request to die to heal others. And I accepted it. Immediately I accepted it. And I was told that I would be crowned for this. I would be crowned in the sky. And I thought, well, that's great. So I'm evolving too. I'm passing this test, and I'm going to, as a spirit, evolve, right? And I thought, that's great. But it also started a process in me that was very liberating, a process of mourning, I started to mourn myself. I looked through my social media at posts, pictures, stuff I said, and I looked at myself and I loved myself so much. I was so happy. So happy with what I've done in my life. I was so happy with the person that I was. Everything I've achieved, the adventures I've had, my story that I'm still in the process of sharing. But yeah, I entered this mourning process of, oh, I'm gonna die. At least it's gonna be a good death. It's gonna bring about good things, and being a medium, being a shaman, having connection with spirit all the time, saving them, helping them, communicating with them, whatever it might be. I don't have a big fear of death. Like I guess a lot of people do have. That fear is born from ignorance. If you knew the truth, you wouldn't be afraid. You know, back in the day, back in the day, humans were not afraid of death. They understood the system, but a large proportion of the human population, especially in the West, simply forgot the truth. They forgot that they forgot. And proportion of them have for millennia pushed lies onto the human population to keep them in ignorance, to keep them in darkness, and to keep them under their control. It's the fear of death that makes people easy to control. If people were not afraid of dying, they would not be capable of being controlled. Do you get me? The powerful people on this planet, they use fear, they use greed, and they use shame or guilt. Those three things. You can manipulate humans with those three things. Fear is the biggest one. And like I said, fear of death is probably the biggest fear that people have all over the world. And again, it's born from ignorance. If you knew the truth, you wouldn't be afraid. Or at least you might start the process of resolving those fears. But for me, when God presented me with the option of dying for the sins of humanity, this Christic mission, I said yes, without a second of hesitation. I mourned myself while I was alive. So I've died already, if you get me. I've gone through a process of death. Not the first time either. So yeah, that was my test. My test was to deliver myself, to give myself for everyone else. It was a show of selflessness. It was a test of my compassion, and to see if I could be selfless and not selfish. To see if I could act without fear. So the test was made, the question was asked, I responded, I accepted the mission, I accepted that I would die for everyone, no problem. That's unconditional love, and I try to emulate Christ in that way, Buddha and other masters. But yeah, the process of mourning was was really beautiful. It made me really love myself. I loved myself so much. It wasn't just this mourning. It was like a gift. It was like because I accepted the mission, or because I accepted that proposal, because I passed a test, it was almost like I was given the gift of understanding. It was like I was able to put into place all the missing jigsaw pieces from my life. Any doubts I had, unknown things, etc., etc. It was as if the jigsaw puzzle was finally complete and all the pieces were in the correct places. And I was given the gift of self-love. You know, I always, or at least for a while, I've known how important self-love is. You got to love yourself and take care of yourself, and then you can share that with others, right? We get the concept, but do we live it? Do we put it into practice? Do we actually feel it? And now I really feel it. You know, I got this gift that put all the pieces into place, and then I looked at my life. I looked at specifically first enemies I had, people who I would have considered enemies, especially during my spiritual awakening process. People who would have attacked me or who would have come against me in some way during my spiritual awakening process. The story that I'm trying to tell at the moment. But yeah, a lot of all of these enemies, these people from my past, the perspective completely changed. I finally understood that they were my friends. They weren't my enemies. People who I had mortal games with, like life or death games with. They were my friends. They weren't my enemies. I was able to see the past correctly finally. And their attacks on me were a way of breaking my spiritual innocence. They were a way of making me stronger. They were a way of pulling out of me my shadow and thus healing me. So it was a fantastic gift that essentially rewrote my history, or at least made me see it correctly. Not from ignorance, but from enlightenment, from a perspective of clarity and understanding. So, you know, it's not always bad to have an enemy. It can make you stronger. It can give you the option to forgive. How will you have the experience and learn how to forgive if you don't have someone to forgive? Maybe you should be grateful for the people who've hurt you, so that that you can learn forgiveness. All of these virtues that we need to learn. If we didn't have opposition, if we didn't have antagonists, how could we learn all of these virtues? So my acceptance of the mission and my passing of this test that God gave me led me to a much deeper understanding of myself, brought me such immense love, self-love. I was able to look at all of the help that I had received. Little words, little phrases, they all came back to my mind from certain people at certain times who knew what they were doing, even though I didn't know what they were doing at the time. And then all these phrases and words and stuff came back to me, and I was like, oh, you fucking bastards. Like, they, in a fun way, right? Because they knew what was going on. But there's also like rules, right? You got to let people come to their own conclusions. You can't do the work for them, but you can like give them a nudge. You can give them a little push, right? You can say the right word at the right time can change somebody's life. The right phrase at the right time can turn a key in someone's mind and forever change them. That phrase can come back to them at an opportune moment when they really need it, and then they'll act in a certain way based on that advice. Your words are really powerful. So anyway, I got these gifts of understanding my past, restructuring it, seeing it from a higher perspective, let's say, not from an egotistical perspective. And yeah, there was this morning, there was this joy, but also sadness for the loss of myself. It was like a death process that I was put through. and a test at the same time, and a healing and a gift. So I fully thought that I wasn't coming back from Thailand. I was like, I'm gonna go there. I had way more details than this, and I'm kind of condensing it all. But Spirit said this will happen and that will happen, and it will be on your birthday. Your birthday will be your last day. My birthday's in like 2 weeks, by the way. So I had the day. I had like I would have packed differently if I had have thought I was coming back from here. I really thought I had come to Chiang Mai to die, but as far as I can see, it was a test, and I passed. So, with all that said, getting back to my point, spiritual evolution, spiritual growth, it comes with deserving. You got to pass the tests. That test was heavy. The one I talked about, the one I mentioned, it was a big one. At the end of a very long process, a years long process. But there was many other tests. Sometimes I didn't notice them. Sometimes I missed the opportunities. But sometimes people will come to you and they'll reach out a hand and they'll ask you for help. That's a test. There were many tests along my path. Some of them I didn't notice were tests until after, and then I was like, oh, that was an opportunity to elevate, and I missed it. It's okay. There'll be more. They come around again and again and again. But my point is, when someone reaches out a hand and asks for your help, remember that it might be a test. And it might not be you helping them and you being good. That person might be sent by God to help you, because you need to do good and deserve your elevation. Do you see it? Do you see what I mean? We think, oh, I'm going to help that person. It makes me good. I'm a good person. It's good to be good. Of course it is, right? Charity is good. But what we fail to notice sometimes, what I have failed to notice in the past, and what I don't want you to fail to notice in the future, is that God and angels can present themselves to you to help you by giving you an opportunity to help them. Does that make sense? You're getting a chance to elevate every time someone asks you for help, every time you see someone in need. Now, I'm not saying you need to walk along the street and try and fix everyone's lives. That's not what I'm saying. But in moments where you have the ability, you think you have the potential to help someone, don't miss the opportunity. So with all that said, I hope you pass your test. Follow me on magic.